getting back to perhaps the more familiar degree measure, you can see I wrote the north, south, east, west compass points in radians here for the measure of angle. 0, pi over 2 pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi. Know those. Know the equivalent that on a circle measured in degrees, the angle measured in degrees, we have 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and 360 degrees. When we're doing this dimensional analysis, converting from degrees to radians or vice versa, if you're starting with degrees and you want to get to radians, well, given degrees, you want degrees in the denominator, so degrees will cancel and we'll be left with the unitless radians. Sometimes I write RAD in parentheses to remind myself that they are unitless. If you're given radians, then you'd want just the opposite. You want radians in the denominator so you can cancel those. Notice pi is not a unit. It's the radians that will cancel, and then we could be left with degrees. The surviving unit will be degrees. If I'm converting 135 degrees into radians, well, given degrees, I want degrees on the bottom and pi radians in the numerator. Now, the conversion factor we're using here is that pi radians is exactly equal to 180 degrees. Cancel, cancel gives me 135 over 180 pi. Notice those are unitless there, which of course will simplify to 3 pi over 4 radians. 540 degrees, I'm starting with degrees. I'm going to multiply by pi over 180 degrees. So these will cancel. And I'm left with 540 over 180 pi, which simplifies to 3 pi. Negative 270 degrees times pi over 180. Why do I do that? Because I want the degrees to cancel to leave me with negative 270 over 180 pi, which will simplify, of course, to negative 2 pi over 3. And this, of course, will simplify to negative 3 pi over 2. In this particular task, my objective is just the opposite, to convert from the given radians to degrees. Well, if I'm given radians, I know my denominator has to match up, pi and 180 degrees. Notice this was unitless. That's what radians are. If you want to write radians, fine, but you don't have to. Pi and pi, that's 3.15, canceling with 3.15, and this will give us negative 180 degrees over 2, which of course is negative 90 degrees. 2 radians. Well, it doesn't say radians, but since it doesn't say degrees and we're measuring angles, I know that I want pi radians in the denominator, which will give us 360 degrees divided by pi. And that works out to about, now I have to go to my calculator, 114.59 degrees. And last but not least, if I'm given radians, then I want pi radians in the bottom, the denominator, and 180 degrees in the numerator. These will cancel. 2 goes into 180 90 times. 9 times 9 is 81 with a 0 attached. So I can do that without my calculator as well.